You know, I said last week... No, one at a time, please. I said last week, I wasn't going to be here this week, but I could feel it in Geoff Barker's voice, so I thought, I better come to work. Hello, Geoff.
You're here then, it is you.
It's me. It's not a recording.
No, I know it's you. It's real.
It's me.
Great to hear that Gene Pitney song, his first hit record. I haven't heard that for ages. What a great request.
I've been noticing recently, I don't know if you have, but a lot of commercials are now sort of going back to 50s and 60s music. Things like, the lottery balls and all that. They're using the trad jives and all this sort of music as well.
Yeah, it always seems to be the way that they want something for an ad. I suppose it's a good time, familiar song people will know, and that sort of relates to the commercial. I guess that's their philosophy, So, yeah, it's good for the writers and everything, because after years and years, perhaps a song's been sort of semi-dormant, they get on a TV ad, and all of a sudden, ka-ching, nice little check comes in.
Is it still 70 years? On copyright?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I know
might have been changed to 50.
Yeah, I thought it was 50, but then they moved it. However, the tracks you've got here this evening, my boy, wow. Take it away, Mr. Barker.
Right, we're talking about writers. We're kicking off with the greatest rock and roll writer of songs there ever was, and he was a pretty mean guitarist and great singer as well. The great Chuck Berry, born this very day, sadly no longer with us, but born 94 years ago. So we're going to top and tail tonight's little segment with the man himself. Now, this is one of his great big hits from 1964, at a time of the UK beat boom, when every band from the Beatles on the Stones down were doing his songs. The great Chuck Berry, and No Particular Place to Go.
Riding along in my automobile, my baby beside me at the wheel. I stole a kiss at the turn of a mile, my curiosity running wild, cruising and playing the radio, with no particular place to go. Riding along in my automobile, I was anxious to tell her the way I feel, so I told her softly and sincere, and she leaned and whispered in my ear, cuddling more and driving slow, with no particular place to go. Place to go. So parked way out on the Kokomo. The night was young and the moon was cold, so we both decided to take a stroll. Can you imagine the way I felt? I couldn't unfasten a safety belt, riding along in my calaboose, still trying to get her belt to loose. All the way home I held a grudge for the safety belt that wouldn't budge, cruising and playing the radio, with no particular place to go.
Boy, do I remember when that came out and charged up the charts in 1964. Chuck Berry, No Particular Place to Go, and he was sounding just like he always did. And, of course, the song was about a seatbelt in a car, which meant nothing in Britain in 1964, so we thought it was Chuck being a little bit naughty innuendo-ish, but it wasn't. It was quite an innocent song. You couldn't get the seatbelt undone. Now on to remembering Chuck's birthday, as I said, would have been 94 today. One more song coming up a little bit later on. Now on to the Queen of Rockabilly, who's very much alive and well. She's going to be 83 on Wednesday, Wanda Jackson. She only retired from playing and recording a couple of years back. Started her career back in the 50s, where she would tour on some of those package tours across with her dad as chaperone, alongside Elvis, Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash and all the other legends that were around at the time. But she had a fantastic voice. There was a wonderful growl in her voice, which she was renowned for. And she recorded this in 1958, but it was a hit in Britain in 1960. Originally recorded by Elvis in one of his movies. But this is the wonderful Wanda, as I call her, wonderful Wanda Jackson, remembering her birthday. Hope she has a great day on Wednesday. And let's have a party. What a voice. Wanda Jackson, 83 on Wednesday. And she sounded like that throughout her whole singing career. So, only retired a couple of years back. I interviewed her once, believe it or not, in Great Yarmouth in East Anglia. She was over and appearing at a rock and roll weekender up there. And she's a really lovely woman. Great stuff. And goodness me, had she had a career in rock and roll and rockabilly. Happy birthday on Wednesday. Now to a guy who is not around anymore. In fact, he died in the mid-60s, but his name was Bobby Fuller, and he was born this week in 1943, and he was his band, the Bobby Fuller Four, really modelled themselves on Buddy Holly and the Crickets, recorded some of his songs as well. And I always sort of think when I hear this one, which was a big American hit in 1965, maybe this is how had Buddy survived and the Crickets sort of got into the 60s sound influenced by what had come from Britain, which is, you can hear this very much is. Maybe the Crickets with Buddy might have sounded like this. And it was a song that Buddy co-wrote, actually. Here's the Bobby Fuller Four and Love's Made a Fool of You.
When you're
The Bobby Fuller Four and Love's Made a Fool of You. At a time in the mid-60s when the American charts were just full of all things English, Stones, Dave Clark, Beatles, everybody. But they were one of the few American rock and roll bands that sort of continued with that sound and had a whole bunch of great big hits, including that one. Co-written by Buddy Holly and his first songwriting partner, Bob Montgomery. If you recognise the surname and you're a country music fan, Kevin Montgomery is his son. They wrote it in 1958, originally intended as a demo for the Everly Brothers, but Don and Phil never got to record it, remembering Bobby Fuller. And so to Buddy himself, it's this week in 1958 that Buddy Holly went into what would be, sadly, his last studio recording sessions. Did some stuff in his little personal recorder at his house in his apartment in New York, early 59, before he went on that final tour. But in October this week, 1958, he was in a huge, really state-of-the-art studio in New York and recorded 4 tracks in amazing stereo sound, including Raining in My Heart, the classic True Love Ways, which so many people have covered, and this song, which was written more or less on the day by Paul Anka and given to Buddy. Here's Buddy Holly, a lovely song, It Doesn't Matter Anymore.
There you go, baby, here am I. Well, you left me here so I could sit and cry. Well, golly gee, what have you done to me? Well, I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Do you remember, baby, last September, how you held me tight each and every night? Well, whoops-a-daisy, how you drove me crazy, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore. There's no use in me crying. I've done everything and now I'm sick of trying. I've thrown away my nights and wasted all my days over you. Well, you go your way and I'll go mine. Now and forever till the end of time, I'll find somebody new, baby. We'll say we're through and you won't matter anymore. There's no use in me crying. I've done everything and now I'm sick of trying. I've thrown away my nights and wasted all my days over you. Well, you go your way and I'll go mine. Now and forever till the end of time, I'll find somebody new, and baby, we'll say we're through and you won't matter anymore. You won't matter anymore.
Buddy Holly in the studio in New York, where he was living. He'd moved there with his... he'd only got married fairly recently, in 1958, this week then. One of the 4 tracks he recorded, It Doesn't Matter Anymore, which showing the shock and also the loyalty of his fans after he died in February 59. That went to number 1 in the UK charts, posthumous number 1 for Buddy. So to a CD celebrating the guitar genius that is James Burton. Now, if you're an Elvis fan, you'll know him because he was in Elvis's band in the Vegas years. Before that, going right back to the late 50s, he was Ricky Nelson's guitarist. James is a fantastic player, still around, one of the legendary and most influential guitarists there ever was. A new CD out of James Burton material, early groups and sessions, given the collective title Cannonball Rag, which was a track he played, but there's all sorts of stuff on here. No Elvis, because that was much later on, but we're playing a classic Ricky Nelson track that James played on from 1958, with his guitar just absolutely magnificent. James Burton with Ricky Nelson and Believe What You Say.
I believe what you say when you say you're going steady with nobody else but me. I believe what you say when you say you don't kiss nobody else but me. I believe, do believe, I believe, yeah, believe, pretty baby. Believe you're going steady with nobody else but me. Well, there's one thing, baby, that I want you to know. When you're rocking with me, you're gonna rock too slow. Move on and get toe to toe. We're gonna rock till we can't rock no more. I believe, do believe, I believe, yeah, believe, pretty baby. Believe you're going steady with nobody else but me. Well, dig it now. Well, I believe what you say when you say you don't miss nobody else but me. I believe what you say when you say you don't kiss nobody else but me. I believe, do believe, I believe, yeah, believe, pretty baby. Believe you're going steady with nobody else but me. Well, when you kiss me, baby, then you roll your eyes. I get a funny feeling that I'm hypnotized. Chills run all up and down my spine. Tell everybody that you're mine, all mine. I believe, do believe, yeah, believe. Oh, believe, pretty baby, believe you're going steady with nobody else but me. Oh, yeah, well, I believe, you believe, yeah, believe. Well, believe, pretty baby, believe you're going steady with nobody else but me.
One of the most influential guitarists there ever was. I say he's still alive and well. James Burton, with Ricky Nelson, of course, on vocals, and Believe What You Say, from a new CD out on Jasmine, celebrating his early stuff. The very first group he was in, believe it or not, in America, were called The Shadows in 1957. Nothing to do with ours, and neither knew about each other, I'm sure. Tracks with all sorts of people, including Bob Luman and Dorsey Burnett, Johnny Burnett's brother as well. If you're a James Burton fan, good CD, just out on Jasmine. Okay, to another one, final one tonight, and it's another one from Chuck Berry, because, 84 today, worth playing two tunes. And this is another one from his pretty golden year of 1964, when he had loads of UK hits. And if you listen carefully, just sort of halfway through the song, it's a song about where he sees a girl and he's trying to track her down. He gets in taxis, he gets on buses, and he sees this woman and he wants to catch up with her, and he can't quite do it, and he never does. But there's a line in it where he says he was campaign shouting like a Southern diplomat, which you think, what does that mean? Well, in the original, and it's very topical with the American election coming up now, Chuck wanted to say Southern Democrat, but the record company said, oh no, you can't put that in there, so he changed it to Southern diplomat. Have a listen to that. Here's Chuck Berry trying to find Nadine.
Slow down, I think I see her. Please let me off the bus. Nadine, honey, is that you? Oh, Nadine, honey, is that you? Seems like every time I see you, darling, you got something else to do. I saw her from the corner when she turned and doubled back. Started walking toward a coffee-colored Cadillac. I was pushing through the crowd trying to get to where she's at, and I was campaign shouting like a Southern diplomat. Nadine, honey, is that you? Oh, Nadine, honey, where are you? Seems like every time I catch up with you, you up to something new. Downtown searching for her, looking all around, saw her getting in a yellow cab heading uptown.
great Chuck Berry in The Story of Nadine. All his songs were stories. They were just so great about it. That's why he had such a wonderful way with words. Born 94 years ago today, and that was a hit in the British charts in 1964. OK, John, that's my little bit for this week.
Let me tell you, I know his English drummer, Graham Hollingsworth was his name, and he's been over to Guernsey a few times. And Graham was telling me Chuck was a bit of a shrewd man. He said what he used to do, before actually going on stage, he'd look through the curtains with the lights down, and he'd be looking for little red lights where people are recording, and he'd pop round to them, tap them on the shoulder and say, look, if you're going to record this, could you stick about 12,000 grand into my account, please? And he did that. He actually did it. Yeah, great guy. He's now drumming with the Swinging Blue Jeans.
Right.
Yeah, he used to always give me his sticks after a gig, which I used to auction off for different charities.
Yeah, some wonderful stories about the great Chuck Berry. He's seen it all and done it all. Yeah, well, there we are.
Well, I'm not here next week.
Oh, no, you're not, are you? Okay.
I'm hosting a big party next week, so I'll catch you in a fortnight, sir.
Not a big party for you, not a big birthday or anything, is it?
No, not quite, not there yet, Quite a few years to go, but thank you. I'll let you know when I'll bring you over for that when you're hosting it.
All right.
But I'll catch you in a fortnight's time.
Cheers. Okay, I look forward to speaking to your, I'm sure, wonderful deputy next week.
I don't know who it is. I think it might be Nick. But still send me the tracks anyway, all right?
I will do. We'll sort that out.
All right, Geoff.
Anyway, have a nice little break. Enjoy your party, and I'll speak to you in a couple of weeks' time.
Have a great week, mate. Cheers. Thank you.
You take care, and you at home as well. Stay safe.
Radio Devon.
Richard Green is joined by Geoff Barker on a Sunday evening for a lovely bit of Geoff Barker's rock and roll, and we say hello to Geoff right now. Good evening, Geoff.
Good evening, Richard. How's things with you?
Not too bad, thank you very much. I love having you on the programme because I just love all this rock and roll music. And we're going to play a song from one of your mates, I think, in between part 1 and part 2. And I know you already know who I'm talking about.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I've got to say, interested in your quiz this week. I got the first one after the second attempt.
Right.
And the harmonica question, I thought I didn't know, but when I thought about it, I did.
Okay, yeah, okay. Roy's got part 2 of the question right, but has dipped out on part 1, which I think is the more tricky of the two. But anyway, there we go. Yeah. Some rock and roll music, please, sir.
Right, well, today, the great Chuck Berry, the poet laureate of rock and roll, was born 94 years ago. Sadly, no longer with us, but we could do a week of his songs. But the thing I always loved about Chuck, and I imagine anybody did really, he was not only a wonderful writer, his songs were all stories. They all told tales about places and people. And this particular song actually became the subject of a documentary which Andy Kershaw put together on Radio 2 some years back, because it's a song about travelling across America, and it name-checks loads and loads of places. So Andy took a trip down the road and followed the lines of the song. It was a really great... I'd like to see that again sometime. But it was from a big year for Chuck in 1965, a hit in the UK. Here's the great Chuck Berry on the anniversary of his birth and Promised Land.
I left my home in Norfolk, Virginia, California on my mind. I straddled that Greyhound and rode him into Raleigh and on across Carolina. We stopped in Charlotte to bypass Rockhill. We never was a minute late. We was 90 miles out of Atlanta by sundown, rolling out of Georgia State. We had more trouble that turned into a struggle halfway across Alabama. And that hound broke down and left us all stranded in downtown Birmingham. Right away I bought me a through train ticket riding across Mississippi clean. And I was on that midnight flyer out of Birmingham smoking into New Orleans. Somebody help me get out of Louisiana, just help me get to Houston town. There are people there who care a little about me and they won't let the poor boy down. Sure as you bought me a silk suit, put luggage in my hand. And I woke up high over Albuquerque on a jet to the promised land. Give me Norfolk, Virginia, Tidewater, 41009. Tell the folks back home this is the promised land calling and the poor boys on the line.
What a great song. Chuck Berry and the Promised Land, touring across the USA. Hit from 1965 at a time when just about every British band in the country had been doing Chuck Berry songs, which is why he came back into the frame, as it were. And it was so great that he was in the charts having hits in 64 and 65. And this second part of tonight, in our little part two, we'll be closing with a song that just about every British band, Chuck Berry song that just about every British band covered, including especially and particularly the Beatles. From a classic from the 50s to something absolutely brand new, from a 10-inch vinyl album, which isn't actually coming out until next month. It's from a great band who I think are just one of the most unique bands in the country. They're called the Holloway Echoes. You will know them and have heard some of their personnel if you've been listening to me for any length of time. Alan Wilson is the man really behind the whole sort of concept. He produces the album and he plays on it. And the front man is a great guy called Pat Wynne, who's a wonderful singer and songwriter. He's got his own band, the Pat Wynne Combo. And the last Rockin' Roundup seems so long ago. It wasn't this year, of course. It was last year. A couple of the guys came on the show when we were at the Great Yarmouth doing the Weekender there. Well, anyway, they've got this really great album out, which is on the way soon, 10-inch vinyl LP. It's called Shivering Sands, which is the name of the sea fort where Screaming Lord Sutch used to have his radio station just outside the 3-mile limit in the 60s. But there's a song on there about that. There's one about Buddy Holly. There's another one about Joe Meek. There's a song about Teddy Boys. And this one particularly, it's got the resonance today, is a tribute to Chas and Dave's drummer, the man who used to see him all the time on Top of the Pops. Whenever they were anywhere, he was always at the back. Mickey Burt, a great drummer. He passed away 6 years ago today. And Pat has written a really great song, which is on this album, and it's all about Mick the Stick.
You've heard about Dave, you've heard about Chaz, I'm betting that's a dead cert. But some people don't know who I'm on about when I talk about old Mickey Burt. He was the bloke at the back, giving it a whack, and Cord didn't he after that. And when he banged on the skids, he gave a little grin, sitting in his trilby hat. Mick the Stick, he did not whack it. 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 Back in the day, made a couple of bob. And when the band quit strumming, Mick went back to plumbing for his old mate gave him a job. And there he stayed for years, as solid as a rock before he had to lay them sticks down. I was sad when I read it, let's all give him credit. We should have given old Mick Burt a crown. Mick the Stick, he did not whack it. Mick the Stick, he did not whack it.
Wonderful stuff. The Holloway Echoes are a mix of early rock and roll, Joe Meek stuff, touch of the Kinks, and a lot of Chas and Dave from their an LP, vinyl LP coming up in November, Shivering Sands. And that's a great song about Chas and Dave's drummer Mickey Burt, who passed away 6 years ago today. And if you remember seeing them on TV, he was always at the back with his trilby hat on, as he mentioned there. And produced by Alan Wilson, and it's out on Western Star, which is just great. They're a great band. I'd love to see them live one day. It'd be a good, fun night out, I think.
Yeah. It is BBC Radio Devon every Sunday evening. Geoff Barker joins me for some rock and roll in two parts. We've had part one looking at Chuck Berry, and we're going to look at somebody else right now, I guess, Geoff Barker, aren't we?
Yeah, well, the clue was a song written by Sonny Curtis of the Crickets in 1958, which became a great big hit for The Clash in the 80s. Neither of those versions of it. It's a song called I Fought the Law, which Sonny wrote and had several versions covered by all sorts of people. Once The Clash had recorded the song, he did very well out of it. But this was a hit from the mid-60s by an American band called the Bobby Fuller Four. At a time when the American charts was just all British, the Stones, the Beatles and the British Invasion and the whole bit. But they continued with the sound of rock and roll, and I often used to think that maybe had Buddy Holly survived and the Crickets carried on into the 60s with the influences coming from the UK and all the rest of it, they may well have sounded like this. Bobby Fuller Four, not around anymore. He died in 1966 in very strange circumstances. Conspiracy theories everywhere. You go online and have a look about that, but that's another story. But I thought I'd play this song because it's the anniversary of his birth. He was born this week in 1943. The Bobby Fuller Four and the Sonny Curtis song, I Fought the Law. The Bobby Fuller Four and I Fought the Law. Always loved that band. Bobby Fuller, born this week, 1943, and had that great sort of crossover, mid-Atlantic, British-American type sound, but just so great. And a song written by Sonny Curtis of the Crickets. I remember meeting up with Sonny. I've met several times over the years, the Crickets, for all sorts of reasons. But I said, what was his favourite version of the song? Because lots of people have recorded it. And his own was Hank Williams Jr., believe it or not. Our final one tonight, another one too. Well, he's gone, but wish Chuck Berry, 94 years old today. He would have been one of his great songs, probably one of the all-time classics, next to the most classic, I guess, next to Johnny Be Good. Covered by hundreds and hundreds of people all around the world down the years. Beatles made this world famous when they recorded it in 1963 after years of singing it in Hamburg and everywhere else. And the most notable versions down the years, of course, included the Electric Light Orchestra. A great song with Chuck's wonderful lyric writing and recorded in 1956, and yet amazingly never a UK hit, but such a famous song. Chuck Berry, Roll Over Beethoven.
faithful DJ. Yeah, it's a jumping little record I want my jockey to play. Roll over Beethoven, I gotta hear it again today. You know my temperature rising, the jukebox blowing a fuse. My heart beating rhythm and my soul keep a singing the blues. I roll over Beethoven, tell Tchaikovsky the news. I got the rockin' pneumonia, I need a shot of rhythm and blues. I caught the rolling arthritis sitting down at a rhythm review. I roll over Beethoven, they're rockin' in 2 by 2. Well, if you feel it and like it, go get your lover, then reel and rock it. Roll it over, then move on up. Just a try for further, then reel and rock with one another. Roll over Beethoven, dig these rhythm and blues. Nothing to lose. Roll over Beethoven, tell Tchaikovsky the news. You know she wiggle like a glowworm, dance like a spinning top. She got a crazy partner, you ought to see him reel and rock. Long as she got a dime, the music won't never stop. I roll over Beethoven, 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 dig to the rhythm and blues.
We'll see you next week for more rock and roll, yes?
Thanks a lot, Richard. Yeah, take care and stay safe, and you at home as well.
OK, thank you very much. Geoff Barker's Rock and Roll is coming back next Sunday after 8.
Of course, the man who knows the history behind rock and roll, Geoff Barker, joins us live on the line from his home. Hello, Geoff, and great to hear from you.
Thank you, Martin. Yeah, nice to talk to you again. How are you? All right?
I am very well, thank you very much, and looking forward to tonight. I'll tell you why, because you've got at least 2, if not all 3, of my favourites going back along the tracks of time, and some special birthdays tonight.
Yes, kicking off with a big birthday. I mean, he's sadly no longer with us, but Chuck Berry was born 94 years ago. The poet laureate of rock and roll, wrote some of the greatest rock and roll songs there ever were. And I mean, his songbook, you could do a program for a whole week and not really get through it all. But in 1964, he had a whole bunch of great success in Britain, loads and loads of hits in the charts, which was at the time of the UK beat boom, which was quite... well, really the best thing to have happened, really, because all those bands, Beatles and the Stones, they were all doing Chuck Berry's songs before they became famous, so it was sort of paying back the debt that he was in the charts alongside them. And I always love this song, it's sort of got these French references to it as well. A really great little song, as all his songs were. Chuck Berry from 1964, and You Never Can Tell.
It was a teenage wedding and the old folks wished him well. You could see that Pierre did truly love the mademoiselle. And now the young monsieur and madame have rung the chapel bell. C'est la vie, say the old folks, it goes to show you never can tell. They furnished off an apartment with a 2-room robot sale. The coolerator was crammed with TV dinners and ginger ale. But when Pierre found work, the little money coming worked out well. C'est la vie, say the old folks, it goes to show you never can tell. They had a hi-fi phone, oh boy, did they let it blast. 700 little records, all rock, rhythm, and jazz. But when the sun went down, the rapid tempo of the music fell. C'est la vie, say the old folks, it goes to show you never can tell. They bought a souped-up chitney, was a cherry red 53, and drove it down to Orleans to celebrate their anniversary. It was there where Pierre was wedded to the lovely mademoiselle. la vie, say the old folks. It goes to show you never can tell. They had a teenage wedding and the old folks wished them well. You could see that Pierre did truly love the mademoiselle. And now the young monsieur and madame have rung the chapel bell. C'est la vie, say the old folks. It goes to show you never can tell.
Chuck Berry, and you never can tell, born 94 years ago today. Uncharacteristically, he didn't have a load of his guitar on it, just that wonderful pub piano, which just sounded so great. Like something from
Lovely
an
and honky tonk, wasn't it? It was absolutely
It really
right.
was.
Yeah, a real bit of honky tonk there. Of course, one thing I love about that version is the stereo quality of it, because I'm listening with my headphones on. It's wonderful.
Thank you, Martin.
Not at all. Thank you very much indeed. You want to give us a nod and a wink about what we can expect next week?
Oh, you've asked me this before, haven't you?
See, I know you. You're like me.
I should really get prepped in advance,
In the
shouldn't I?
middle of the week, you're going to think of something and you go, that's what I'm going to do for this weekend. That's okay. Hey, we'll speak to you Sunday night next week. Have a great week ahead of you.
Okay, thanks very much. You stay
Cheers,
safe. Have a good week. See you then.
Bye-bye.
He's arrived. He's here for the mini rock and roll show. Hello, Geoff. How are you?
I'm fine, actually, just knocking myself out listening to the wonderful Aretha Franklin. There was a great documentary about her I watched on TV a couple of weeks back. Just unbelievable. What a voice, what a voice. Well, the first one is Chuck Berry. Amazingly, he would have been 94 today, and I've always called him, lots of other people have as well, it wasn't something I invented, the poet laureate of rock and roll, because when it came to writing really great lyrics of so many, dozens and dozens of classic songs, which have been covered by everybody down through the years, there was no one like Chuck Berry. I mean, during the UK beat boom when the Beatles and the Stones and all those bands were coming up, if you went to see a band and they didn't do a Chuck Berry song in their set, you wanted your money back, you know, it was that sort of thing. One of the absolute greatest influences of all time. He passed away in 2017, but on a happier note, remembering his birthday today with, well, it's got to be this one really, the absolute all-time classic. But I'll tell you an interesting and quite surprising statistic about this song after we've heard it. Here's Chuck Berry and the all-time great Johnny B. Goode.
Deep down in Louisiana, close to New Orleans, way back up in the woods among the evergreens, there stood a log cabin made of earth and wood, where lived a country boy named Johnny B. Goode, who never ever learned to read or
Oh, the great Chuck Berry, Johnny Be Good. It is, of course, Geoff Barker's mini rock and roll show. He shares it with us on a Sunday, which we're very pleased about. And you said you had some interesting statistics to tell us about or something.
Yeah, one which is breathtaking, really. Believe it or not, that you can scour all the chart books and record books you like. You'll never find that listed. It just was not a hit in Britain for some reason. No idea why. 1958. What were they thinking of? People who bought records at the time got presumably lots of radio plays and sold okay, but it's not in any of the chart listings, which is bizarre for his most famous and probably most covered song. I imagine more versions of that down the years than anything else, but there we are. The great Chuck Berry. What an influence he was.